Well, unfortunately, that beautiful image up there is a thing of the past. I've just ruined my webcam to show you that picture. It's a thing of the past now, unfortunately, and we don't have a very lovely camera now to help us out this time around, and it shows. So, unfortunately, I'm here to break down Preston North End versus Blackpool at Bloomfield Road on the 22nd of October. And things could have definitely gone better our way. So, of course, I'll provide you with my first half, second half breakdowns, ratings, and points to make, pros, cons, all that lovely stuff. So, before we begin, just like to say, make sure you check the link in the description. Go follow me on Twitter. That's where we make all our decisions as a community to vote for the thumbnail titles of these videos, to make some interesting points about the match, discuss these matches, do everything related to Preston North End, what we do on the pitch, off the pitch. You get the picture. It's a lovely little community we've got going at the moment. We've just surpassed 250 followers. So yeah, let's keep the steam train rolling, shall we, peeps? But for now, let us discuss. Alrighty then, so I'll leave the stats on the screen for you for a moment before we discuss them. But first, we'll discuss the first and second half. So the first half, the game began in a way it should have done at 100 miles an hour. We held ourselves very well and everyone played their part nicely. Blackpool took their chance well but allowed us to level up soon after they give away a silly penalty, all things considered. So the panic was very short. It was a brilliant first half display from both teams, all things considered. The second half began controlled, but as soon as Greg Cunningham came off in the 60th minute-ish with an injury, that turned the game on its head, I believe. Diaby had to come on due to Hughes missing out and he was utterly embarrassing, but more on that later. Blackpool almost scored instantly after. We continued to squander and drop our quality even more as we conceded another. The pure difference comes from their willingness to hit the ball when near the net. Evans thinks he scores but turns out to be an own goal. There's plenty of injury time to make it level, which we could have easily done if Brown hadn't tripped on his own feet. Woodman come out in the 3rd minute of injury time, which led to the single most stupid thing I've seen an North End player do for some time. He doesn't go back after the corner, but he stays out instead, which let Blackpool take advantage of the open net to finish the game at 4-2. So before I move on with other things to say, let's take a look at the stats. I'm not used to looking at a white Google page anymore. I've turned it to white so the face cam looks a bit better because it looks awful when it's on dark mode. So, temporary solutions. Anyways, they had 11 shots all game to our 18. This is the most shots we've had in about 6 weeks of playing. Which I suppose it's good to have this many shots. It shows that we definitely did have some intensity and some desire going into this game. Which, to be honest, we should have this attitude for every game because at the end of the day, if you want to win the league, you got to get points. Shut up, Java. You got to get points and stuff. And you can't score a goal without taking a shot. Simple as that. We had 6 on target to their 5. However, as you can see, with the 4 goals they scored, only 1 of them were off target. They did not waste many chances that they had on target. Of course, they took a few chances, but the ones that really counted, they tried to make sure they counted. We scored from a penalty and an own goal. We didn't score a single one of these shots on target, excluding the penalty. And I'm not going to count the penalty myself because, well, it's a spot kick. You don't have to do anything intelligent. You just need to hit the ball. I think it's quite embarrassing. And again, another game where we have more spoils of the possession and lose. It's a common theme at this point, to be honest with you, but we'll soon be able to find a way around this, I'm sure. But for now, it's not looking too great. All this doesn't really matter because you expect us to have a lot of fouls. We always do. With 2 yellows as well. 6 corners to their 1, which I suppose shows that we had more ferocity going forward. But again, we don't have that clinical touch simply because we do not have the quality going forward. Emil Rees isn't enough because Emil Rees doesn't like passing the ball. He's so hell-bent on scoring that he will not aid his teammates. It's very rare that he does. Ow, I've just hit my hand on the desk. It's usually the microphone. You got off lucky this time, Mike. That were a bad one. We don't have that quality going forward. That's the only problem, I think. So, yeah. Now, let's take a look at the table really quickly. QPR remain on top with 30 points. We're now 11th, which is, well, I think we're going to constantly jump back and forward between 11th and 8th and 9th and around this area. We'll probably drop down a little bit here as well, but Blackpool have now jumped up by 3 spaces and we fell by about 3 spaces. So, yeah, everything seems to be in order at the moment. Like I said, the league at this stage is very strange. There's only like a 3-point difference between most teams in most positions, so it's everyone's game to fight for at this point. Until there's like massive point gaps like there is in the Premier League, for example, this table ain't going nowhere. We're doing decently well, all things considered. The goal difference needs sorting out, absolutely, but for the most part, yeah, I'm still not going to complain. This is a game that we needed to win, but it is what it is, unfortunately. But yeah. Alright, let's move on to the player rating, shall we? So Woodman has been given a 4. I'm going to use, by the way, if you're new, obviously I expect a lot of new people to be watching this because of the nature of the video. We'll use Lancashire Live for our player ratings because I don't agree with things like SofaScore simply because it's based on stats. It's stat pondering and I don't agree with that. But however, I do know about who scored, and I'm going to check who scored now just to see what they're saying, because if these are more accurate then we will use this. Preston, North End. Blackpool versus Preston. Can I see the play ratings, please? Here we go. Well, everyone got given a 6 on both sides. I don't think that's how that works. If that's what they've scored, everyone, then I don't know what's going on. Yeah, I don't know what's going on here. Right, ignore that. We'll go back to Lancashire Live because they make sense. Right, Woodman's been given a 4. Of course, he got beaten 4 times and got caught out for the 4th goal, even though Peony had a push for an equaliser. And again, he made a few saves here and there, but to come out at the last minute is incredibly stupid, and to stay out that long is even more stupid. I really don't think it was an intelligent choice from Woodman, but throughout the entirety of the game he didn't have much to do. Maybe he could have done a bit better with the goals that went in, especially the third one. I think they could have done a bit better, but yeah, it's a big shame really. He wasn't on his best today. Story of 5, I don't agree with that. I think Story was one of the best players on the pitch. A decent first hour from the defender, but Peony were all at sea for the final 20 as the backline made costly errors. Of course he made a couple of errors here and there, as they all did, but I wouldn't agree with the 5 because he still continued to push forward. He marked his man expertly. It's just a shame he couldn't get the footing in time, but in terms of how he was and how he positioned himself, how he played his part, I think he did really well. Lindsay a 6, moving him to left centre back, messed things up for the Lily Whites. Until then he had returned to the side well and was winning the battle up against Medine, and Liam Lindsay took a very bad knock in the first 10 minutes as well, where he had to have his head bandaged for the 2nd time this season due to a head bleed. So good to see him pushing on forward. Cunningham at 6 was steady enough for an hour there before being taken off due to a knock. He used the ball well and made the right choices. Looked comfortable in defending as per usual. Cunningham's been fantastic this season, and what I must say is I don't know if it was a knock that got him sent off. As far as I'm aware, he had to overstretch to try and make a challenge, and he ended up pulling his groin. And it was at 60 minutes where he just couldn't continue. And I think that is what completely turned the tides of this game. If Cunningham hadn't had to go off, this game could have been very different, I believe. Potts at 6, he had a low shot saved in the first half, it was a good shot, and played the game at the right intensity, got up and down the right flank, looked desperate to win. The result will hurt him as much as anyone, being an ex-Blackpool man. And of course Potts did look like he really wanted to score in this game. He openly said he wanted to score in this game, and it's a shame he's yet to do it, so fingers crossed he can do it when they come to Deepdale. But Ryan Ledson withdraws soon after the horse second, but he had a decent afternoon, stuck to his promise of giving everything he's got, and set the tone early by winning 50-50s getting stuck in. Ledson was fantastic. Like I said, he did his pre-match interview before the game and everything, said he was going to give everything he had for the boys, and he did. Ledson's definitely one of our best players out there for games like this. Whiteman is 7, he was definitely one of the best players all game, probably the best player. He captained the side and was fired up from the off, stepped up to the pressure the moment to convert from the spot, looked to be in control of the middle of the park. He did really well. Did his job in there for most of the game, but it wasn't enough, sadly. Whiteman was one of those ones who gave one of those genuine after-match reactions as well. I do think he works a lot better as a captain than Brown. No disrespect to Brown, of course. I saw a lot of people saying that missing DJ and Brown for this game was a bad choice, which I heavily disagree with. Of course, they're very seasoned veterans in terms of this fixture, but just look at their form this season compared to what they've been like in previous seasons. It's understandable why they was dropped. Just because they've played this game a few times and they know the ropes doesn't mean they should be played. That's not how that works. Because if that's the case, they should play every game because of how long we've been in this league. But I digress. Fernandez a 5. I can agree with that. Had the confidence to push on and ask questions, but defensively Northend did look a tad bit vulnerable down his side. And I think Alvaro's another one of those players who didn't turn up on the day. Considering this lad's had a fantastic season, and he's been one of our best players all season, to see him not turn up today was a massive shame. I don't know why that was, but I'm not going to question it. He's just having an off day. McCann, 7, he brought all of his traits to the table, made life difficult for Blackpool in the middle, did really well, worked well off the ball and was switched in his position too. He didn't deserve to be on the losing side, absolutely not. McCann again, one of the best players all game. Woodburn a 6, He started sharply, showing some nice touches in the final third and picking up some clever pockets of space. Then a low shot at goal, which was saved, and continued to press from the front relentlessly. Didn't have the final killer pass or shot, despite finding himself in the dangerous areas. And again, Woodburn's another one of those ones who are quite similar to Reese, but quite the opposite. I don't feel like he's pacey enough going forward in comparison to Reese. He does decently to hold the ball, but his shot doesn't exactly seem fantastic compared to Reese, should say. He feels like more of an attacking midfielder than a striker to me. Same with Sean Maguire, but it's not my place to comment on that. Reese at 7, he caused real problems in the first half. Played as well as we've seen him most of the season, worked with his socks off and dealt with the physicality coming his way. Won the penalty, and Blackpool looked in trouble when Peony utilised him, but they struggled to do that after the whole second goal. When Whiteman actually came up to take the penalty, I was very surprised, because Reese would probably be my second choice penalty taker if Johnson weren't on the pitch. So to see Whiteman take it was very strange, to be honest with you, but Emile must have been alright with the choice. Substitutes, Diaby, a 3. He didn't cover himself in glory for the 3 goals conceded while he was on the pitch. A tough afternoon for him, and Ryan Lowe said he was disappointed in the changing room, and rightfully so. There was an image that emerged on Twitter as well of Diaby with his head in his shirt at full time, looking very upset. And it's horrible to see our players like that, of course, but I think he had every right to be hard on himself, because Diaby did not perform at all. Of course, he's not been very well this season compared to last season. On his debut, he was really good, but over the time in that season, he did fizzle out. Let's not forget, this is a lad who had a big break from playing football, so it's going to take a while for him to get back up to speed, and perhaps playing Diaby wasn't the right choice on Lowe's end, but we'll talk about that in a moment. Maguire 5, he saw some of the ball in the final third and showed some nice touches, but didn't cause Blackpool any problems. One slick move with Brown, which could have very easily equalled the 3-3, and we could have maybe nabbed the point, but oh well. Brady came on with 15 to go, but Peony went further behind 5 minutes later. Played centrally, but could only send a few crosses in and pass sideways, and those crosses were indeed quality. It's just a shame there was no one on the end of them. Evans a 6, was there to poke home the goal and restore some hope, which is, yeah, fair enough, that's all he did really. And Brown a 5, brought on at 3-1 with 10 minutes to go, had one positive run at the defence but couldn't finish the move off. And I think that was the part of the game that really did infuriate me and made me give up personally, because as that ball's come flying across, it's a simple tap-in. It's a very, very simple goal to have, and he somehow ends up getting his legs crossed like he's trying to, them like Irish little jig dances that they do. It's like he's got his legs crossed trying to do one of them. I have no idea how it happened. Simple tap-in made it incredibly difficult and frustrating due to footwork. Footwork's more important than running in some cases in this sport. Same with boxing, your footwork is everything in cases. And footwork and positioning when it comes to being in that penalty area, very important. And it's unfortunate we couldn't capitalise. So we'll take a look at the reaction from Ryan now. In the first half we did well. We were disappointed with the goal because we had to stay with runners at half time. We thought we were in the ascendancy and the team that was potentially going to go on and win it, or at least create more chances, which we did. We then found ourselves undone on the halfway line after giving the ball away, not tracking a runner and jumping out of our slots. The third one, we could not allow a man to be free inside the box, and the fourth one, we threw caution to the wind for a goal. It definitely wasn't a 4-2, but what one team has won and one hasn't. It wasn't for the lack of trying. I'm sick of hearing him say that. The final third lacks a bit of quality in decision making. When you're on top, you have to punish these teams, and we didn't. It is simple as that, but at the same time, it's not. We know what it is, don't we? Let's not beat around the bush until January comes and we can help the group. Then we know lads are doing different jobs up there fantastically well in different ways, but we haven't got a 20-goal season striker just yet. Emile did it last season, obviously, but we know what we need. This is just me talking as I have done for ages. We played some good football, I think you can see that, but it just didn't. It's just that final pass or cross. Disappointed with the final third quality. Now that's where Lowe stumbles over his own words, and I'll give some talk about that after this. Low on what now in the second half swing? Just a day or two from each other, a little bit of thinking time for the group because they are together for large parts and it's long hours. A free week will do them a world of good and we can get some recovery into them. I'll be careful what I say because we lost. Did we deserve to? No. Could we have won? Yeah. Were we worthy of a point? Yeah. But we didn't get anything and we had to take our medicine. We did quieten their fans for a bit, but it's going to hurt for 48 hours at least, isn't it? We lost to Derby, but just so everyone knows, we are all hurting. And then he mentions that it's our responsibility to make it right when they come to Deepdale next year. But this here, until January comes and we can help the group, then we know. This is Lowe not beating around the bush anymore, like he says. Because as he came in, as the season began, when the transfer window closed, he said he's happy with the lads that he's got. There were still some more things desirable, but he's happy with what he's got and he can make do with what he's got. It was very, very blatantly clear after the first 3 weeks that it wasn't enough. It was blatantly clear that he's not happy with what he's got and that he's struggling to make do with what he's got. He just doesn't want to admit that and be open about it, because that could lead to some poor consequences for him, and that is not what we need. Ryan Lowe is not the problem with Preston North End. It is everybody else on top of him in terms of power. The ownership of the club and the direction of the club needs a change. And I'm sick of saying it. People on Twitter are sick of saying it. We're all sick of saying it. Of course, all the respect in the world to the Hemmings family. They lost their father last year. It's a very difficult thing to process, and they're Preston fans, so they would like to keep hold of the club. Pushing 12 million into a club of this stature every year is not something that's quite easy, despite the losses that we're taking. However, if we can find the right buyer to come along, then we should take it. The deal with Chris Kirchner last year, yeah, maybe it was a good thing that it didn't come through, because that seems to be like it's not exactly going well for what ended up happening with him. But we do need a change in ownership, and fast, because we need more money coming into the club. It's as simple as that. We don't put enough money into the club, and us as supporters half the time don't put enough money into the club, because for years we've been abusing our options to buy tickets. Adults going on as juniors or under 7s to get their tickets for free, which is not going to be supporting the club. Fans not purchasing from the club shop, but instead making their own merchandise. No disrespect to places like the 909 of Preston. It's a fantastic shop, and I personally purchase from it myself. But some supporters see by purchasing from the 909 or the Terrace Football, for example, even though I think a percentage from what the Terrace make goes back to the club, they think that's enough. And don't get me wrong, the 909 makes fantastic customisable shirts, and the Terrace makes some incredible replica shirts like the 1995 one that they've just re-released. And they also make some great merchandise, full stop, the kit mugs, etc. I have loads of products from the Terrace, but I also have equally as many products from the club shop. I enjoy supporting this club. I've not bought a dishonest season ticket. We've all got a season card this season from my family, that's honest. We want to support this club as much as possible. Supporting the club doesn't mean turning up and sitting in your seat. It means helping them progress. That's what supporting the club means. Purchasing things from the fucking club. The merchandise, the pies, the pints, which plenty of people do, but it's clearly still not enough. We need a change of ownership. Ridsdale at the top is a completely different conversation on its own, but we'll discuss that another day. Alright, so let's move on to the points to make, shall we, before we close up. So we had a fantastic and passionate first half. The travelling fans were great as always. DRB was beyond awful, and I'll give a little bit of mention on DRB in a minute. Very poor choices made in the second half. Story was great. Unbelievable choice not to stream it in the UK, by the way, which Blackpool refused to put on their iFollow, so we couldn't beam it back to Deepdale like last season as well. So finding a stream to watch the game on was made it incredibly difficult, because we had to outsource to French, German, or other places that did. There were places that had it, like DAZN 2 and BN Sports, but finding a way to get onto that website in the first place, which requires a VPN in most cases, to then have to purchase to watch the match on there in a different currency. It's a load of fucking about. It was made unnecessarily difficult to watch this game. It makes you think, like, why would you not want to stream it? It makes no sense. You give us less allocation than you did last year and you don't want to stream it. It hurts both fans. It hurts both sides. It hurts both clubs. It makes zero sense. Lowe was he's too hell-bent on using a 3-5-2. Let's be clear. 3-5-2 might be his system, but if it doesn't work, it doesn't work. It's as simple as that. We could have easily changed the system to compensate for not having the lads to back it up. That's what people mean by the manager hasn't been backed. Look at the lineup. It's a 3-5-2. That's the most common lineup. Well, 3-4-1-2 if you want to count the attacking midfielder, but it's essentially a 3-5-2. If there's 5 in the midfield, for fuck's sake. But if you want to be specific, let's say 3-4-1-2. Okay. So you've got 2 up front, you've got your attacking midfielder, your 4 central midfielders with the left mid and a right mid / wing backs, if you want to say it's a wing back, and your 3 at the back. Okay, the 3 at the back, the starting 3 at the back are quality. Story, quality. Lindsay, quality. Cunningham, quality. And if it's not Cunningham, it's Hughes, quality. That's not a problem. Fernandez, quality but didn't turn up. Ledson is great but interchangeable. Whiteman, great, should be played. Potts, great, interchangeable in circumstances. McCann, great, but changeable in circumstances. Reese shouldn't be changed. Woodburn, 2 other options behind him, 3 when you include injuries being accounted for. So we've got plenty of options going forward. However, they don't have that quality. Evans doesn't really have that quality anymore. Maguire does not have that quality anymore. Parrott is not even with us until December at least. So that knocks out 3 fucking forward options. So why don't we just play one at the front and have someone else behind him to aid him? This is what I mean. This system might work in League 1 and League 2 because that's where Ryan Law's come from. But it might not work in this league. The Championship is ruthless. There is so much to fight for. There is so little time to fight for it. It's such an unpredictable league. It's ridiculous. We made all 5 substitutes and none of them made the impact we need. We have Alan Brown, who's seen better days, and he's having to play an unnatural position to account for the lack of depth in the squad. Brady is great, but he's being benched because he doesn't really fit into this system at the moment. Diaby does not seem to be match ready. Maguire can't score anymore, but he's good at handling the ball, which is why he's replaced with Johnson. Johnson and Maguire could be interchangeable if you ask me. Even though Johnson might want to take a shot more than Maguire does, because Maguire's probably got a mentality issue where he doesn't want to be out for 8 months again. That's Maguire's problem, and I will make a video regarding this eventually, but the squad depth is dog shit. It's undeniable. We have nothing. There is nothing we can use. Ledson is either changeable for Brown or Johnson or Brady, but the problem is Brady's now been told to play in this position where McCann is or where Potts is, sometimes where Fernandez is. Brown is where Potts is sometimes as well. He's just throwing everyone in different positions and hoping something sticks, and I don't blame him for trying that because what can he do? What can he do? There is no depth to this team whatsoever, and it's such a shame. Because it's not the manager that is the problem with Preston. It's never been the manager that's the problem. We should have backed Alex Neil when we had the chance. We didn't, because this fucking Preston North End. We don't back our manager. We get another one in charge, get him sacked after a while, get another one in, rinse and repeat. We don't back the manager. Ryan Law's our best chance of promotion we've had it since Alex Neil. You know, since Grayson perhaps. That might be a bit of a push. We've not had a good promotion chance since we first came into the Championship, if you know what I'm trying to say. This could be the season if we get this man backed in January. Backing him at the start, if we would have backed Low at the start, we could be in the top 5, top 6. We could be in the playoff positions right about now. It's because we are lacking that. There's just 1 or 2 things. We are a Cameron Archer away from winning this fucking league. That's what I'm trying to say. Maybe not win the league, but win a trophy. That's what I'm trying to say. It's not. We can't rely on Archer to come back. It might be in Law's head. He's waiting for the phone to ring. But Gerrard's now been sacked, so that's one less friend he's got in the Premier League. This is the point I'm trying to make. We got Archer in the first place because Law has connections with Gerrard. We was at an advantage, and it helped us to get Archer through the doors. Now Gerrard is gone. Gerrard didn't want to send him back anyway. He's just sat on the bench for Aston Villa getting splinters in his arsehole. And that's exactly what he's doing right now as we speak, as I'm recording this video. Aston Villa versus... Jesus Christ. The 31 minutes in and it's 3-0.
I know, I just got a test from it.
Right, well, I've lost my bet. Jesus Lord. But point stands. Where is he? There, on the bench. It doesn't look like he really needs to come on. Let's be honest. He probably doesn't need to come on in this game. Okay, fair enough. This is probably not the best time to look at the scoreline because Villa's not had a great... they haven't exactly been great recently. No, they haven't. They've been losing their games. Villa has been losing a lot of games recently. So that's quite unfortunate for me to look at it right now. They lost 3-0 to Fulham, 2-0 to Chelsea, 1-1 with Forest, 0-0 with Leeds. Beat Southampton 1-0. Fuck it, I can't read. They drew with Man City somehow. Arsenal was 2-1. But yeah, they haven't exactly won many games this season, that's what I'm trying to say. So for them to now get rid of the manager and be winning 3-0 against a team that is definitely on form, kind of speaks levels. But Archer's not playing, so I'm not going to say anything about that. Hey, look at that, you got back-to-back games. I'm not going to say anything about that. That point is now void. But anyways, Archer's career is not exactly taking off like it was at Preston North End because he's not getting the game time, he's not scoring the goals, and he's missed out on England under 21 because of it. He's missing out on international football because he can't get game time at club level. We would have given him that game time, we would have given him that recognition, which is why he made it the squad in the first place last time. And he didn't make it this time due to an injury, which is unfortunate, however, but he still won't get the game time. That's what I'm trying to say. If Archer was here, we'd be giving him the game time, we'd be playing him, and he'd be playing all the matches, he'd be scoring all the goals, and we could be up here. Even if we just get another striker in, it doesn't matter. We need another striker, or another goal scorer. We need a Cameron Archer. Maybe not Archer himself, but another one like him, someone who's a natural scorer. Because Reece his gears aren't working right at the moment. Maguire can't do it, Evans can't do it reliably. and Woodburn hasn't exactly shown it yet either. So that forward option is needed, that midfield option is needed, and that maybe one more defender as well, because like I said before with DRB, he's not match ready. And it's a shame to see so much abuse get thrown at one player, and I can hold my hand up and say I am part of the people that have been slagging him off overnight on Twitter. But it's for good reason. We're not, you know, we pay good money to watch these guys kick a ball around, for fuck's sake. We have the right to voice our opinion, and DRB is simply just not match ready. Which, if instead of playing, there are plenty of other options than just sticking DRB into the current system. You didn't have to put DRB there, or sorry, in the middle, and move Lindsay over, because Lindsay's best position is here. DRB lost his man a few times. That's why we conceded 3 more goals. But you know, you don't have to stick to the same system. If you know a player isn't ready, change the lineup, change the formation. You don't have to stick the same. You could have brought Brady on instead. You could have put Potts towards the back and bring Brady on, and play a different lineup. You put Potts at the back 3 at the very end of the game. So why is it any different to do it at 60 minutes? Maybe he just had a brain fart. I don't know, but it most certainly cost us the game. There's no denying that. That one substitution cost us the game. It really did, because as soon as we took Cunningham off, which was unavoidable, we had to take him off, everything fell through. It really did fall through, and we can't do anything about it. So it's a big shame to be losing a game like this, a game this important, a game with this much anxiety behind it, with this much hype behind it, and we lose. We can't afford to lose to Blackpool at Deepdale. If we lose to Blackpool at Deepdale in April, it's going to be a very, very difficult summer. Very difficult summer. So if we can't get the right lads through in January, I'm afraid this club is going to be in some serious fire. But anyways, let's look at the pros and cons and then close. So the pros, we had an amazing first half display. We had plenty of shots, and we had a standout performances across the board from plenty of these lads on the pitch. However, we have 5 cons to discuss, which is very bad decisions made in the second half. The defending was very bad in the second half. The keeper made a huge mistake at the end, which was just completely unnecessary to do, by the way. There's 2 minutes left on the match and you come out for the corner. Maybe come out for the corner and then run back, but you stayed out. Don't do that again, please. We lacked intelligent passes up front, and we failed to secure any points, even though it was most certainly possible to do it. So yeah, massively, massively unfortunate turn of events that transpired yesterday. But at least it was a good laugh watching all the fans fight again. You know, it's a fantastic atmosphere. It's a fantastic day. It's just unfortunate that we can't make the day ours. But yeah, I've been 8-bit Preston as always. You know, your general shit chatter on the internet about a team that's in sunny Lancashire, sunny wet Lancashire. So yeah, our next match. Who is it? Oh, it's Middlesbrough at the weekend, and that's at home. Which we're not very good at home. You know, there's no point in being a season card holder at the. I hope so. There's no point. Yeah, that was the last time. This is different. You know, Middlesbrough aren't exactly on form, but there's no point in us even being a season card holder. We don't do well at home. You know, it doesn't feel like it's worth the money, but hopefully we can pull something out of our asses at the weekend, because we desperately need it now. But anyways, yeah, I'm signing off. Don't forget to follow the Twitter. Viva Char Revolution.